It's hard when you put your heart into something and it doesn't go the way you expect. When was the last time things didn't go the way you planned? And what came up for you practically? What were some of the practical consequences and emotionally too? We're getting into it in this episode.
Welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. We are your hosts, Erik, Orton.
And I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth and sailing. In 2014, we moved aboard a fixer-upper sailboat and bootstrapped a year sailing with our 5 kids, and it changed our lives forever.
We tell the whole story in our memoir, our book, 7 at Sea. On this podcast, we want to help you go from fear to freedom, one adventure at a time. Today we're just talking about sometimes when things don't go the way you expect. And of course, that's life. Those kind of things happen every single day. In fact, I remember reading one of the Stoics, probably Epictetus, and then he taught
Marcus
Aurelius. But just saying, like, if I enter the day expecting people are going to be rude, annoying, offensive, expecting things are not going to go my way, just kind of like basically this idea of having really low expectations or expecting things to go wrong, then you'll just like float above all of that, and you won't be surprised or knocked off course when something like that happens. And it seems like a little bit of a strange way to start an episode of a podcast called What Could Go Right.
Sounds like we have it backwards, apparently. If you could like set low expectations and you'll never be disappointed, that's not a very catchy title.
But the fact is, sometimes big things that we're hoping for or working on don't go the way that we wish. And in that season, we have to call upon our resilience. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about that.
Hey, today. Resilience,
where are you? I'm dying over here. Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. So we actually wanted to talk to you. We've been kind of hinting about a business transaction we've been building up to for quite a while.
Year, and I'm going to say a year and a half.
And now we are able to report the conclusion of that story at this time.
Which is, it ain't happening, at least not this year. So we're going to talk about our own disappointment. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. So what happened?
Okay, so we have signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I'll keep it purposefully vague. But broad strokes are, about a year and a half ago, we were floating the idea of buying a business and shopped around for something that we thought would be a good fit and found one in New York. It was a sailing business doing day charters. And we looked at a handful of businesses and kind of whittled it down to this one, thought it was a good fit, made an offer. The offer was rejected. And we thought, okay, all right. Fast forward 2 or 3 seasons. And I guess it was fall of last year. Got a call back that said, hey, the other buyers have fallen through. Are you still interested? And we said, yes, we are. So we kind of revived the whole project, on our side, got them an offer, which was accepted.
And I want to say, in the between time, we felt very calm about it. We were
like,
that's fine. We'll try again later.
Yeah. And I actually, anyway, yeah, we just it would have been cool if it worked out, but now is not the right time. And that's kind of how I feel about it at this stage. Not that it'll never work out, but just not right now. Anyway, so we made an offer. It was accepted, and we had to get a whole bunch of information to arrange financing through the bank, and we provided a bunch of documentation. And then the seller needed to provide some documentation, and that was all happening kind of early 2025, I'll say. And wasn't happening, waiting for the seller. And then, we'd kind of blocked out, I would say, April and May, kept our schedules very clear to take over this business and be on hand and be available to do the training, because it's sailing. That's kind of the beginning of the sailing season, and kind of kept our summer schedule light.
For sailing trips with the Awesome Factory, the Navigator sailing trips, we kept light.
Yeah, so we kept our personal trips that we do very light. And we've actually said, on social media and via email, hey, we're not going to Europe next summer.
Or even maybe you've been on a call with us and you've heard like, well, this might be the last time we're going to Italy, or this might be the last time we're going to Greece. You know?
Yeah, because the plan was to take over this business, which would operate basically spring through fall, keep us very busy, at least initially. And so we weren't planning to do any more trips in Europe because of purchasing this business. And we were on the East Coast prior to our last trip to Italy, and was wanted to make ourselves available to this seller who was, I guess, to be frank, kind of ghosting us and,
Right.
and everybody.
Yeah.
His own broker not respond. Nobody's getting back to our broker, and so there's no exchange of information. Um, and then as I'm coming back from Europe, again reaching out to the seller saying, "Hey, I'm available to meet. I'd love to talk through if you have any thoughts or concerns." Just trying to be very human about it, and have not gotten any response. And so at this point, it's been
over
a month of radio silence. I would actually say a month and a half. Nobody on the team has heard, on either side has heard from the seller. And so we're kind of like, well, I hope everything's okay for this person. We hope that nothing bad has happened. But it doesn't make sense to buy the business at this stage. And so we
can't close without a seller.
Yeah, we can't get financing without them providing the needed documentation. And if they're not going to respond at all, there's no way the deal is going to close. So it's been a big part of our past year and a half, and to now have it just be sort of like not a lot of closure. We don't know. We don't have answers. It's not like we sort of took it to the end of the road and then
changed our mind,
decided it wasn't a fit. It was like we just, just the other party just stopped responding, and so we're going to move on with our lives. And that's way different than what we had expected, and in some ways kind of something to not just emotionally adjust to, but in some ways mourn the loss of this story that we had sort of projected out into the future for ourselves, what we would be doing with our time, where we might be living and spending part of the year, the activities that we had engaged in, the financial, parameters of what it would mean for us, both in terms of debt obligation and income and things like that. And so we're having to just wind all that back now. And I think we're still going through it. At least I am.
Yeah, I think so. I think, we had because we were with it for so long, our story and vision for the future had gotten pretty detailed.
Mm-hmm.
And we had started to put in like those imaginary roots and expectations of even like how we were going to work together and how we were going to shift other areas. And we were letting go over here and digging in over there. And now that's off balance. And so we're having to pivot. We're having to adjust. And what do you say how it felt? Because I think we like to say around here, change is fast, transition is slow. And I think it did take us about 4 weeks to realize this is not happening.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, this isn't happening. It was just like, still haven't heard anything. So maybe we should shift emotionally and start assuming it's not going to happen. But to really kind of accept that as the final chapter for now. What is that emotionally?
First of all, I think you're right that it's one of these situations where it's not like it's a clean breakup. Like, hey, I don't want to go out with you anymore. We shouldn't be a couple.
It's like we still want to buy the business.
Yeah, like we still like the business a lot, But if the other person is not responding, there's nothing we can do. And so, most of us haven't been in the dating scene for a long time, but I guess there's this, this thing where like when you're in that scene and all of a sudden somebody stops responding, you're feeling ghosted. There's sort of an ambiguity to it. And this has been like a business breakup where, there's an ambiguity to it. And a therapist friend of ours has called it, it's like
ambiguous loss.
Ambiguous loss, yeah. And, kind of grieving ambiguous loss, and the idea that nobody knows the exact specifics of the thing that you're struggling through or mourning. Because if your parents die or a child passes away or you lose a job or, you're diagnosed with an illness, those are all sort of concrete things that can be explained. And I guess, this can too, like, hey, we thought we are going to buy a business and now we're not. So it's not like it's completely undefinable.
But there are parts of it that you might not realize are going to feel like a loss. Like I know when we had one of our kids was engaged and then decided to change that status and not be engaged anymore. They were like, okay, I knew I was not going to see this person anymore, but what I hadn't realized was all the friends that I knew through this person, or all of this person's family members who I had already come to appreciate. And then there was all of the like multiple layers of loss besides just not having the person that you're planning your life with, or talking through things, or celebrating your day to day together and serving each other. And, it was just bigger than that one relationship. And that was a surprise.
So yeah, I think there's sort of a ripple effect, and maybe doing this podcast episode is a little bit of therapy for us to just talk it out.
Yeah, let's hear.
Because like I think I had some pretty exciting feelings about. I don't necessarily want to move back to New York, but we still have our apartment there, and the idea of being able to put it to good use, and the idea of being able to pop into New York and do things there as needed, have a good reason to be there,
like stay connected or reconnect with New York.
Yeah, and friends, but also and the things that you can do in New York. And for me, I was like, oh, maybe I will sort of rekindle things in the theater industry, and cook up a project or two or something like that. And that's not the driving reason behind all this, but you start to sprout little fun ideas that are playful and maybe a little bit delightful. And so to feel all that kind of shutting down, and also I think, also, I don't want to get into the weeds of the financial aspect of it, but it was going to be a good thing for us financially. We weren't going to do it because it was going to be a bad thing.
Right.
It was going to be sort of like a
more flexible.
Yeah, it was going to be wind in our sails financially, and so to then feel like, well, the wind just died, and I know how I feel when I'm sailing, and you're kind of going along, or you see some ripples ahead on the water, and you're like, if we get there, we're going to catch the wind and we're going to go. And then you get there and the wind dies, and you're like, well, now we're just kind of floating here.
There's less maneuverability. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that there's some sadness over the loss of anticipated momentum and direction and all of that. And, it was going to be a fun puzzle to solve.
Yeah, I think we were both excited about the different work tasks that were going to come up, and the systems that we wanted to build, and the relationships with clients and vendors, and that was all kind of exciting, and we thought it would be like very clearly defined, and we would it would be clear how we were going to work side by side on that.
I think a possible metaphor would be like, you're going to buy a house, and the house is a nice house in a good neighborhood. It's got it's a little bit of a fixer upper. You say, we're going to buy, and you start to have ideas for like, oh, we're going to like this, we're going to like landscape it this way, and we're going to like we're going to tear out this carpet, and we're going to repaint it this way, and we've got some cool ideas for the furniture, and we'll whatever upgrades we're going to make, and we're going to enjoy living in it. We're going to make it nice, and it's going to be good for us, and we're going to make friends with the new neighbors,
and we'll never have any problems again.
And the foundation won't be cracked, and there won't be any mold anywhere, and there won't be, like all these things, you don't always think about the downside. Anyway, but you can sort of build it out in your mind, like, oh, this is going to be so fun and beautiful. And so I think maybe that realizing, oh, but then you don't get the house.
Yeah. And this is all the disappointment that comes from not getting it, and none of the disappointment that comes from getting it and then realizing it's more work than you thought.
Yeah. I think about all, and on the one hand you say, well, yeah, it's disappointing to not get it, but maybe there's all kinds of skeletons in the closet that we're avoiding. And it's hard to mourn those or to feel disappointed about those because we haven't discovered those yet. And dear listener, whatever dream that you're hoping comes true, when it doesn't come true, there are going to be the hard parts of that dream that you now get to just skip. You don't have to figure that out. You don't have to solve that problem. But we get sad about not having had the opportunity to try, maybe.
Yeah, I think we feel sad because as we were looking at the business, we were mostly looking at the upside. We were mostly looking at what could go right. And it seemed like pretty much everything could go right, and now it's gone, and that's okay. And I think it's actually really good here. We hadn't anticipated talking about this, but whenever you come to a new stage or a new place, a new circumstance, our oldest daughter likes to say, "New problems for everyone." Like from where you are, you can't see any of the new problems. You can only see your current problems, and you see the future as the solution to your current problems. Then you get into that future, and you're like, "Oh wait, the future has problems too. I just had never anticipated these problems, you know."
These are new problems that I hadn't tried to solve before.
And yeah, now I'm in the beginner stage again. So we had anticipated that we would be rookies again in many ways, but you know, we couldn't imagine what those might be. So that maybe is part of the goodness of being like, well, yeah, it is sad. We are really good at imagining a positive future, and we're sorry to see it go for now.
Yeah. And I guess this is one reason why I wanted to talk about it, is because we had specifically said in some of our emails and on social media, this trip, the one that to Italy that was just a couple weeks ago, this might be our last trip to Italy, period.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, you know, summertime is the best time to sail in the Mediterranean. Like I'll say May through September. And we weren't, and that would be the same high season for this business. And so we were genuine in saying we may not be going there anymore. So if you want to go, this is the last year, maybe, at least with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess on the flip side, now we can say we're going to be putting out
we're amending the statement.
Yeah, we're walking it back. We're amending the statement because circumstances on our side have changed. And so after Labor Day, we're going to be announcing our season for next year. And it's going to include a healthy handful of dates in the Mediterranean, because we're not going to wait for this deal to, you know, come around. We're not going to put our life on hold for, you know, the other person who we don't wish them any ill will, but we just don't know what's up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say that's one of the things that's good news for you, because those trips to the Med are amazing. And Erik's been learning some really just gems of places to go and things to see, and really getting the inside scoop from local sailors. And this coming up, we will be doing our Croatia trip, and this is the last new place that we're going to. And so in the next season, we will already be familiar with every single location, and we won't, you know, be first timers there. And so, yeah, it's going to be able to offer you an even better experience. Sad news for me is those trips means that we are apart for a long time. And that's one of the parts about the business that we do now that is not my favorite part. So
I'm so happy that you're coming to Croatia.
yeah,
we'll be together for that.
But Lily is very sad. She's telling everyone that we're leaving and she doesn't want us to go.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So yeah, pros and cons.
Well, actually, something that I said, I'd love to, maybe we can pursue a little bit, which is when something doesn't turn out the way you want and somebody else isn't responding in the way that you want, how long do you put your life on hold waiting for them to engage or not engage? At what point do you say, well, I've persevered here and it's time to pivot? You know, this idea that, you know, we could just say, well, you know, maybe it'll happen, and so let's not plan anything next year. In the event that ... You know, how long does that? I guess I don't know that I'm asking a question, but I'm just curious. I realize that we're choosing to make a decision to move forward in our lives.
In our case, it's helpful that there's like an end date on, like, hey, we're going to close by, or this has to be executed by, or, you know, and that date has passed.
Yeah.
So that is clear.
Yeah. I guess just that, you know, sometimes when we have expectations, we then have to say, well, I'm going to make a decision about how I'm going to act and continue to move forward, and sort of just say, well, it didn't turn out the way that I hoped, and my expectations, it's played out differently than I expected, but I'm gonna keep moving in life. Because to throw in a sailing metaphor here, sometimes you tack into the wind not because you're off course, but because that's just how sailing works. You just say, well, the wind isn't going to work going this way anymore. I've got to change directions if I want to keep forward momentum. So um, anyway, the story doesn't stop just because plan A did.
Yeah. So that, I guess, might be under the category of what did you realize? We realized, hey, there will be more availability for trips in the Mediterranean next year. Hey, I'm going to keep moving forward with my life. Um, and and something that we really did try to do was hold the expectations loosely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how do you know when to pivot versus persevere? That the date had passed, so we knew like, hey, it's time for us to pivot and book some more trips. Um, that'll be different, I guess, for each person.
Yeah. And hopefully as you listen to this, you're not too worried about us or our business. Hopefully what you're thinking about is your own life
Yeah.
and something that might have not have gone the way you expected. And how do you want to navigate with, how do you want to maybe mourn that or talk through it or figure it out, make sense of it, find meaning in it? Because, my guess is that something in your life has turned out differently than you'd expected in some way. And our goal in talking about this is to hopefully help you in the thing that you're trying to navigate.
Actually, one of the things that we love to do when we are disappointed is really lean in.
Ooh.
And we love to lean in and not pretend that we're not disappointed, but just fully experience and be like, wow, I am really disappointed about this. I'm actually grieving this loss. I had a lot of dreams around this and now they've changed. And that kind of acceptance we have found actually allows us to move forward more quickly than when we are unaware of our true feelings or unaccepting of our true feelings, and they just kind of linger with us and kind of slow us down. We've done this before. We've done this when there have been work things that didn't go the way we wanted, or like one of the favorite examples is one of our kids broke up with their significant other, not an engagement, just a boyfriend girlfriend situation, and what was very sad,
mm-hmm.
right? And feeling all the big feelings. And we like made a giant chocolate cake, and we played like cranky romance songs,
breakup songs,
yeah,
whole playlist.
We had a whole playlist of those, and we just kind of leaned in, and I think she deleted all his pictures from her phone, or like we just did all the actions. We just like leaned into it hard one day as a whole family, and we're not hating on this kid, but just like letting it go and like kind of grieving with her, like letting her grieve. And then she just wanted to watch, I don't know, however many like episodes of The Office or Parks and Rec or something like that. And but she got through it so fast because we didn't act like everything was okay. We acted like, this is terrible. Let's have a pity party. And then we moved on.
Pity party. And so I think what I hear you saying, Emily, is that we need to make a chocolate,
big chocolate
cake and eat it.
Yeah.
And that will solve a lot of problems.
Well, it will at least get us across this bridge.
I think I'm trying to think of episode titles like How Chocolate Cake Can Solve All Your Problems.
Maybe we can link our favorite recipe. It's a Nigella Lawson triple layer chocolate cake. We could link that in the episode show notes for you. That's our go-to.
If Emily does that for you guys, don't miss it. Download that recipe. It's incredible.
It's a good one. It takes some effort, but it's worth it.
What else should we talk about before we wrap up?
I love this idea that staying flexible isn't failure. It's just, we're just learning as we go.
What was the reel we were watching the other night? I'm very disappointed to learn that part of trial and error is error.
It involves error.
It involves error.
And it might feel, especially if sometimes it can feel really bad when you're like, I did something wrong. If only I could have done this better, then it wouldn't have happened. And it's also very disappointing when you're like, we did every single thing right, and it still didn't work out. It just happens that way sometimes. So, hey, if you have that experience, I'm sorry, it is not the favorite part. And lean in, accept it, have some chocolate cake if that's your thing, and hopefully get all the wisdom out of that experience that you can, because good things are on the horizon. Let's see. Yeah, it's hard when we put our hearts into something and it doesn't go the way we imagined. Um, but it is an opportunity to grow. You're allowed to change course.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we like to talk about navigating, because we don't have all the control, but we can control how we respond. Um, you don't have to lose the learning or the meaning from it. And I think this is maybe one of my favorite ideas. Like, disappointment is part of a full, brave life. The reason it's called risk is because you don't know how it's going to turn out. And it's when we take those risks and we bet on ourselves, um, that we do have the most opportunities to grow. Whether we learn more because we fail or whether we get the enjoyment of succeeding, that's both good. So I guess we're this week, wherever you feel like you're like holding on to something really tightly, like what would it feel like to just hold that more loosely and ask what could go right?
Hey guys, it's Erik. Before we wrap up today, I want to go over the sailing update. For those of you that are interested in sailing with us, I want you to know what is available. So, we do have a few spots left for 2025, and then we've also got a bunch of trips to announce for 2026. So, buckle up. There's a few to run through here. Our Greece trip, which is happening in later July, is sold out. So, that one is now no longer available. And our Croatia trip, I think, is also sold out. People have said they're going to send me deposits today as of this recording. So I think that one is sold out. If you're interested, check in with me. Just hit me a DM, send me a DM, or email me at eric@theawesomefactory.nyc, and we can let you know what's available there. However, we do have some cabins available for our October trip, Mexico, La Paz. Beautiful, one of my favorite places to go. You should listen to our podcast episode a couple back where we talk about why it's the most underrated, but most beautiful, one of the most beautiful trips we do. So October 20th through the 25th, we'll be in La Paz, Mexico. Then in November, we've got one spot in our BVI trip for a female spot, November 10th through the 15th. Again, I think that one's gonna fill up. There's lots of people looking at that. And December 8th through the 13th, we're in the Bahamas. 1.5 cabins, one full cabin plus a female spot. Again, we've got a few folks interested in that, but at the moment, as of this recording, those are available. So if you want to go sailing with us in 2025, those are your options. And now for 2026, if you need to look further out, here you go. British Virgin Islands, January 5th through the 10th. You'll fly in and out of St. Thomas. We're going to be back again a few weeks later, January 26th through the 31st. So 2 chances to sail in the BVI in January. Hopping over February to March, we're going to go to French Polynesia. It's an amazing place. I haven't been there since 2017, so a number of years. It's a fantastic trip. Not going to lie, it's by far the most expensive trip. It's going to be a one-way from an island called Raiatea out to Bora Bora. So you fly to Tahiti, get a hopper over to Raiatea. We're going to sail over to Bora Bora, and then we fly back from there home. So we're not going to be doing this one again for quite a while. So if you're interested in that, March 8th through the 14th, French Polynesia. We are back in the Bahamas, April 13th through the 18th. This time we're going to go to the Abacos, which is different than where we normally go. So it's going to be a pretty special trip, and I'm excited about that. That wraps up our spring. In the summer, we jump back over to the Med. In June, we're going to be back in Italy, Naples, repeating the trip that we did this year. So fun, so beautiful. June 6th through the 13th. Then in July 11th through the 18th, we will be in Greece. We'll sail in and out of Athens. And then in August 1st through the 8th, we're going to go to Croatia again. So, and then, not spoiler alert, but special bonus feature in September 26th, 2026, we're going to go to Italy for a second time, September 12th through the 19th. It's the shoulder season. All the kids are back in school. Most of the tourists have taken off, but the weather is still gorgeous. So there's 2 chances to go to Italy. BVI in January, French Polynesia in March, Bahamas in April, Italy in June, Greece in July, Croatia in August, and then Italy again in September. So if any of those are of interest to you, email us. I'll give the correct email. hello@theawesomefactory.nyc, theawesomefactory.nyc. And that way, me and the folks that help me out will see that. And we'll get you information, or if you want to ping me on social media, you can DM us and we'll get you details. But if any of those are interested, would love to see if having you aboard is a good fit. So that is the sailing update. Thanks. And lastly, if you're talking to somebody who's thinking about coming out, what might advice or what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say so. I have experienced a lot of different types of travel, and I do think it's a very unique and cool experience. Even just, I guess it was yesterday in Sorrento, I was kind of just noting how different it would be to see that city coming overland versus from the water. I think if you were overland, you would never see just the cool architecture on the cliffs. And I appreciated just seeing the world from a completely different view, I think. So that's what I would say. Unique and super cool travel experience.